Right, the conditions are poor and things are about to get much worse because Bushcraft N Fun has set a challenge to start a fire with your non-dominant hand only, and that's quite a reasonable challenge to set because we're all out in the bush using axes, knives and saws, so at some stage you're going to get a nasty accident, and that 9 times out of 10, or sod's law is going to say, it happens at the worst possible time. So let me just simulate the accident and then we'll get about the challenge for real. Okay, so I'm right-handed, so we've simulated a major laceration to the palm of my right hand. So I'm stuck out here for the time being, and I need to get a fire going, and I need to keep this hand fairly elevated and out of operation. So for the best part, I'm just going to tuck it into my jacket, keep it slightly elevated, and now we have the problem in the pouring rain to start the fire with my non-dominant hand. Well, I've got my bushcraft pack with me. And if I go into my tools kit, oh, fortunately I've got some birch bark as well. Where I put my tools kit, it's not in the right compartment. There it is. Now I have got my fire kit with me, but we'll get to that later. In a situation like this, I'm going to go for the simplest method first. That's my bushcraft knife and fire steel. I'll try that after I've tried the simplest method. I think this is the simplest method anyway. I carry a Leatherman in my tools kit with a lighter, so that's going to be my first option. I'm going to try using the lighter. I'll try get a fire going in here. That's soaking wet. So now what I need is some tinder. Now fortunately I also carry with me, if I've got it in here, oh, don't tell me I haven't got my navigation kit with me. In my navigation kit, as you may have seen previously, protecting my compass, I carry some toilet paper. Okay, so I've got a little bit of toilet paper. So I have got a few dry sticks in here. So for the moment I'm just going to put some base sticks down in here. Okay, we'll put the toilet paper in. And we'll put a few smaller sticks on top. I don't want to use the birch bark yet. You can easily see how a small accident, like losing the use of your hand, causes you to work in much more difficult circumstances and might actually cause you to have another accident. Right. So what I want to try and do here is light an elastic band. Well, I've got an elastic band holding the valve open, closed, sorry, so it can't come open in the bag and leak all the gas out. Right, is this going to work in these windy conditions? Probably not. Going to need a little bit more shelter. This is where this white light has got a wheel on it. This is where an electric lighter might actually be better. It's just too blooming windy. Okay, I'm going to set the tap on fire in a minute. I'll melt it. This is getting hot. Go out due to lack of fuel if we're not careful. Okay, so we've lost it, so we've got to go back to the drawing board. That's because I didn't put enough fuel in it. Okay, so we're just going to have to redo that. The main thing is when it's not working, especially if I was injured badly, is not to panic. Keep going. Got one elastic band left here, so, and it's wet. So we'll see if we can get this going. Right, we'll put a bit more fuel on a bit quicker this time. I'm not going to spare any expense. I'm putting a little bit of birch bark on. I'm not careful, this one's going to go out. So tempting to use my right hand, I can tell you now. It would have to be seriously injured before I wasn't using it at this stage. Okay, I think we've got another failure. Right, I think we might just start all over again. Yeah. Right, so my first attempt at starting a fire with a lighter failed because I didn't have enough fine tinder material. So although I got the thing started, all my efforts were wasted. So, lesson learned, let's start again. So again, from my navigation kit, I've got my compass wrapped up in toilet paper, so I'm going to get a decent amount of toilet paper. I have some birch bark with me, so I'm going to process that into some fine strips. Fortunately, I always have plenty of elastic bands with me. So I'll put some wood. Well, wood's a bit big, but I'll put a bit in. A couple of big bits. Some smaller pieces on the bottom. To keep the toilet paper off the wet bottom. Put the bark and the toilet paper in. And it's easier to light the toilet paper than it is the laggy bands. But the laggy bands will sustain it very well. Right, so what have I done with my lighter? So there's my lighter on me Leatherman. Get the toilet paper going. Right, let's hope we can keep it going this time. Otherwise I'm going to run out of fuel for the next ones I want to try. Right, I think that'll go now. So, I can get this on, which has water in it, and we can think about the next method, which of course will be probably a ferrocerium rod. And I've got one of those on my bushcraft knife there. So that's what we're going to use next. Right, I'm going to try and light it in there. Right, so I need some fine material. It's going to be very difficult using a knife with your left hand. You're going to have another accident if you're not careful. Right, so the only way I'm going to get this alight is if I scrape a lot of material off the ferrocerium rod. But the way things are going, I'm going to be able to do that. That's not good, is it? What about if I use my elbow? No, that's the elbow of my bad arm, so that's not really on. So all I want now making a right hash of this. Right. Hold it there while I get the fire going. Right, injured hand. After failure upon failure with the ferrocerium rod, because everything is just getting soaked and the wind is just blowing my material away, I'm going to give it another go. Bit of patience, plenty of tinder material. It's hard actually making tinder material with one hand in wet conditions and windy conditions. As soon as I make it, it just blows away. And if it doesn't blow away, it gets wet. It's just not enough material and it's damp. Just not enough. We've still got the Ranger band, which is now wet, but if we could get a a little bit of flame going. The wind, will you stop it? Turning up the garden, I'll be in trouble for that. Blunting my knife, wearing away my ferrocerium rod. I'm just not going to do it in these conditions. Right, okay, let's not get in. With my piston, fire piston, I've got some char cloth. So I'm going to put a bit of char cloth into the mix. Right, this should go. Trouble is, you can't get so with a good bit of char cloth quite a good bit of char cloth. We finally got there in the end, in the rain, with the ferrocerium rod and char cloth. And a ranger band. We'll get a cup of tea in a minute. Right, let's think about my next one. I haven't finished yet. Well, the place is just turning into a bit of a quagmire now. I think we've achieved the mission, mainly with the lighter. It took a bit of work with the ferrocerium rod, a lot of work. And I think it would be equally as difficult with a flint and steel, if not more difficult, because of the dampness. Now then, I do have a fire kit. Well, let's just put a bit of honey in that. That doesn't taste too good. So aside from the magnifying glass, which would be no good on a day like this, the matches that I carry in the first aid kit, the matches that I carry in the fishing kit, and the ferrocerium rod and the lighter on the Leatherman. I also have this little kit. I'm going to have to thin out actually, because I've just doubled up on so many things. So which is why my primary source of ignition would be matches or a lighter in an emergency. That's what I would think of first. I would also think of my ferrocerium rod, but it's going to blow away. I also carry, this is one of those bottles that people fill up their modern day cigarette vaping things with, but I've just filled it with lamp oil. So actually this is going to be hard to get undone with one hand. You've got to squeeze the top. Not going to work. Yeah, that's it. I've got the top off. So I've got some cotton balls there. Put a bit of lamp oil on the cotton ball. Not very much. Get your ordinary lamp match out. And there you go. One-handed. I've also got in here some char cloth. I've also got in here some, this is the wax that goes around cheese, those little cheese blocks. The kids eat the cheese and throw the wax out, but that'll be, I would think that's coloured beeswax. I've got two lighters in here. One of them is a it's one of them jet lighters. So that's electric. So I don't have to spin a wheel with a wet thumb. I can just press. You can't see the flame. The flame's very blue. And I've also got another standard lighter. And then to sustain a bit of paper there you can use as well. and also that that candle I made, and I got the idea for this off Far North Bushcraft and Survival. He did a video on making one of these, so I made one on the Bob Yeager Fire Challenge. So that'll just, well, not in so much wind, but out of the wind it'll sustain a light to start something that needs a bit more flame, a bit more time on it. The metal's just to put it out. In there, in there. 2 lighters in. I've got these matches rather than the army matches because I don't have the army or light underwater type matches. But I think this is a jolly good idea. You might as well carry a bit of this with you. Charcoal. The thing about packing things too tight is when you come to repack them, they never fit so well. Right. I won't pack the whole lot up one-handed. So we set the tent on fire. I couldn't get that alight before. Anyway, it's been a good challenge, and what you learn is don't injure your dominant hand or any other part of your body for that matter. And you do need lots of tinder. I always fall down on the amount of tinder, but I just thought I'd do it. Well, actually I started last night, but it was too dark, and then it started raining, and it's been raining ever since. So thanks again, Bushcraft N Fun. That was fun and very learned a lot from it. I'm starting to get used to not using my right hand. I've got to pack up now, so my knees are getting a bit crocky. Whoop.